Now, I have a very, very important personality in my midst. I am highly honored. Before we get to see who this person is, let's have a look at her introductory video.
Children are a gift that God blessed this world with. They are fragile, need nurturing, direction, and most importantly, they need care. In this COVID era, children need utmost care and attention. COVID-19 protocols have been put in place to help in curbing the spread of the disease. But do children even understand some of these protocols? How are they being informed on COVID-19? Health service providers and educationists have devised means to prevent the spread of the disease. Some use short messages pasted on school premises to inform the kids on COVID-19 protocols and to guide them. They also use approved books to educate kids on how to prevent them and others from getting COVID. One of such books is Grace the Pandemic Warrior, written by Dr. Mary Ashun. Dr. Mary Ashun is a principal of Ghana International School. She earned a BSc from the University of East London in the UK, a B.Ed from University of Toronto, and a Ph.D. SUNY Buffalo, New York. Mary has over 25 years of experience in international education as a teacher, an administrator, and a researcher. She sits on various international boards, including the Board of Association of International Schools in Africa. She is the author of Tuesday's Child, African Connection, and many more. Mary is a Klingenstein Fellow of Teachers College, Columbia University in New York. On The Real Show tonight is the phenomenal Dr. Mary Ashun. Welcome, Dr. Mary Ashun.
Once again, thank you so much for honoring our invitation, Doctor. And I know you've written a lot of books. I mean, you are a scholar. And I can't even begin to talk about each of your books, but what made you feel like, this is the time to write something on COVID?
Thank you so much for having me on this show. It's really exciting to be here. I think that with what we were all going through, and we process things so differently, and most of my work has come about because there was something I was thinking, something I was feeling, something I needed to get out of my system. Other people might scream, they might sing, they might do other stuff, but I write about it. And here I was charged with taking care of children and helping them to understand what was going on. Several homes had been devastated. I lost one of my most beloved teachers to COVID. There was just so much going on. And when I looked at the fact that even as adults, it was so difficult processing why this was happening, what we must do, how long it's going to go on for, the attitudes that I must have, you know, in order to be able to get through it, it made me wonder, what are my 6-year-olds thinking? What are my 7-year-olds thinking? For them, it must be incredibly traumatic. And I had visited a class, a class 2 room in my school, and they had favorite book character week. And so they had read one of my books, and the teachers invited me. And their excitement at it was probably like how I would feel if I met Colleen McCullough or if I met Jeffrey Archer, those people that I love reading. And I thought to myself, it's just me. You know, it's just me, your principal, you know. But they were so super excited. They asked me lots of questions about it. And then afterwards, when I said, you know, I'm about to leave, is there any last thing you want to say? One of the students said, Dr. Ashun, when are you going to write a book about the pandemic? And if you did write it, what would it be about? How would you, what would you want to tell us? This is a 6-year-old. So I remember sitting there and thinking, I've been thinking about this, but I haven't done it, all right? And during COVID, I'm sure all of us procrastinated about one thing or the other. It was just about survival. You know, one day to the next, you have a dream, but you're like, you know what, I'll shelve it for a bit. But that student's question really got me thinking, and I thought, you know what, I need to get this book out. I really need to get it out. So I took a weekend to go over to Takoradi to visit some family. And while I was there, I just sat by the ocean and I let it rip, literally.
Wow.
And that was Grace the Pandemic Warrior.
Wow, that's a beautiful story. If you haven't read that, you are missing out. But Grace the Pandemic Warrior, why Grace the Pandemic Warrior? Why the name Grace and why the Pandemic Warrior? Were you speaking to it?
Mm-hmm. I was. I thought that my children needed to approach it like, this is a battle. Yeah. We're going to be fighting this and we're going to be doing it together. The name Grace, my youngest sister is called Grace, and she's been battling illness for a while. And whenever I looked at her and her strength, you know, through the whole thing, it made me think that that would be an appropriate name for a girl who's a warrior. So that's where it came from. Grace is my sister. And then, of course, the word grace has so many connotations. And boy, have we needed grace during this time. The grace of God, just the grace of one another to realize that we can't do this alone. We have to do it with one another and to one another.
Amazing. I mean, the cover, from the cover alone is so exciting. Yeah. Like, so do you use this? I mean, you are a principal of Ghana International School.
I am.
Do you have this in the school as well? We
do. We do. And we gave some copies to the year twos. The class that motivated me to actually get this going, we gave them copies of it. So they've been drawing in it. The concept for it wasn't your typical book where there are pictures inside. I wanted to unleash the children's imagination. So it's got the content, the text is there, but I challenged children on each page. After you've read one page, draw it. Tell me what you're thinking. And in that way, try to use all the senses, because as you know, we all have different learning styles. We've all got different giftings. Some children might be able to talk about it. Other children want to act it out, and some want to draw. So this was an opportunity for kids to be able to use their different gifts.
I mean, this is a very wonderful idea. You know, usually we open children's book and all we see is the colors so that they will be encouraged to keep moving on. But this, they are more involved.
Yes.
Like you said, they are probably going to be drawing their imagination. I mean, assisted by the teachers. This is going to be very exciting. You get to picture or have your own version pictorially of the story you're reading.
And the neat thing is that, you know, take for example that you have a class of 25, right? And you give the children this, and you say, we're going to read the first couple of pages, and then I want you to draw it out. You know you're going to get 25 different pictures, right?
Exactly.
Well, that's exactly the kind of differentiation that we want in education. We want to recognize that everybody is a unique individual, and whatever the teacher teaches might land very differently with everyone. You know, so with your previous guest, Grace, who's the electrical engineer, I was thrilled to bits, you know, because it's unusual to us. But why is it unusual to us? Why can't a girl be an electrical engineer? You know, so it's really important to start recognizing the individuality of children, and it starts with little exercises like this.
Are you going to write something for adults as well?
I do have some stuff for adults.
I'm excited.
I do. There's Mistress of the Game. There's Wakoto's Diary. And of course, there's Tuesday's Child. And I've got a couple of short stories. I've been doing quite a bit of short story writing in the last couple of years. It's not that it's easier to write. I think people might assume that it's easier to write, but it isn't. It's just that sometimes the subject that you want to talk about doesn't need to be stretched that long. So there's one that I've got, which is about to come out in an anthology. It's called Kweku Checks Out.
Kweku Checks Out, oh, that sounds so interesting.
It is, but it's sad as well because it's about mental illness and the fact that we assume that everybody's okay, but we're all hurting in some way and it affects us in some way. And as soon as you sense that something's off with people that you normally see and you know their patterns, it's really important for us to check on them. Because somebody could be smiling at you and all happy and everything. They could have what you deem to be the perfect family, the perfect job, perfect everything. But deep down, there's depression and that sort of thing, you know. So it's called Kweku Checks Out. So
that's a play on words, though. Like, he literally checks out.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
totally.
So I was going to ask you why children, not adults? But I figured the 6-year-old there did the magic.
Yes.
But was there anything else that made you still focus on writing this about children instead of something about adult experience?
I thought the adults could handle themselves.
Yeah.
You know, there wasn't enough time, and I thought, you know, I'd much rather reach the children. I've written more books for adults than for children, actually. Actually, no. I sort of have half and half.
Yeah, balancing
I've got
there.
Stubborn Kwame, which is for early childhood as well. And then we've got The Adventures of Kobe Bedu Smith, and that's a science series as well. So
I need to start reading your old books. They all sound so exciting.
It is. It is. I enjoy it.
Okay. Now, you adapted The Prince of Egypt.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Oh my gosh, right from Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey singing that song to just the whole concept of somebody who didn't quite know who he was, being brought up differently from who he really was, growing up in a place that he came to realize he had to fight against, having a brother he loved dearly, and then having to have a different path from that brother. They were supposed to rule together, and now they had to fight each other just by virtue of the fact that he had found out who he was. So when I thought of writing it, our school has got an annual musical. And that year I just thought, wouldn't it be nice if I wrote something for them? And that is one of my favorite movies. So I just adapted it, and my focus was really on relationship. Right, you've got two brothers, and the tagline was beginning together, ending apart. So in the end, Ramesses had to stay in Egypt, drown, whatever happened to him, right? And then Moses took his people to the promised land. But these were two brothers. And sometimes to follow the will of the Almighty, you might have to split a bit, and how difficult that is. So that was the story I wanted to tell.
Wow. Now, you as the principal of Ghana International School, what are some of the privileges?
Oh my gosh, I get to see kids every day. I just live for that. I live for that. My office is just above a walkway that leads to the cafeteria in the senior school. And I can laugh my ribs out when I open the window, and students have no idea. Not that they have no idea, they forget I'm there, right? They're wrapped up in their own lives, you know, who's dating who looked at who, you know, where did you get those shoes from? Okay, I'm gonna order the, you know, teen talk. So I open my window just a smidgen, and I listen to them, and it takes me back. And then when I want to feel like I'm in the company of angels, I go to the infant school. Aww. And the infant school has got the 3, 4, 5, 6-year-olds. And they just can ask the funkiest questions that make you realize that, you know what, it is indeed great to be young. And then when I want to marvel about hormones, I go to my junior school and lower secondary. So this is from about age 8 all the way up to about 12, 13, where it's just crazy. Crazy. The boys are pulling girls' hair and clothes and just annoying them. Boys are annoying at that stage, and the girls are like, we totally hate you. And then, of course, by the time they get to upper secondary, oh, we don't hate you. We actually think you're hot. You know, so I have the privilege of being in the company of children, and that gives me hope. You know, when everything around me is falling apart, there's corruption here and there, there's wars here and there, I just need to go to a classroom and be transported.
Wow, you're so passionate about your job.
I love it.
I literally wish you were my principal. Like I was back in school.
I wish I was my principal.
That is amazing. Now, looking at the fact that you wrote something about the pandemic, how would you say the educational sector is now after what we suffered right from last year, even till now, we are still suffering the COVID effect. What do you think it has done to the educational industry?
I think that it's made us a little bit more aware of the need for readiness. Okay. You know, because who could have ever predicted that this would happen? Yeah. You know, so the fact that we've had situations where school has shut down. You know, I've had to shut the school down when there was a flood, a major flood, and of course nobody could get to work or to school. One of the, you mentioned, I did some work in Colombia, and my mini thesis, if you could call it that, was disaster management. So what do you do when a disaster hits? So I studied what happened when the World Trade Center just fell apart, and there was a school very close by. and they had to immediately evacuate the kids. So, you know, that sense of readiness that as Ghanaians and as Africans, we really don't have that. We're so very fortunate. We don't have earthquakes happening all the time. We have beautiful weather. We don't have natural disasters happening very often. So we get lulled into this sense of complacency, you know. So I think what the pandemic taught us is to plan. Plan, plan, plan. Look at all the possibilities, even if it seems as far-fetched as aliens landing in Ghana. Okay, that is so far-fetched, right? But yeah, what would you do if aliens landed here?
Happen.
The question would be, well, if aliens landed, who says they're bad? They could be good, you know. But thinking about all the possibilities so that you can plan better for children, because learning continuity is important. Really, really important. Whenever we have gaps, and we see this every summer, when we come back in September, it's like we never had the kids the year before. The summer just seems to wipe all the brain cells away, you know. So the need for educators to start asking themselves, how do we continue learning? Do we take it online? And when we take it online, we have to ask ourselves about accessibility. Not everybody can go online. The cost of data is so high. The cost of having a device is so high. How do we reach the masses if we can't be in a schoolroom? So it's caused the education community to really buckle down and try to figure out ideas, you know, to keep us learning.
But I hope it didn't cause any issues in the transition of
work. There were issues. Yeah, there were issues.
Any major issues?
Major as in?
Any of the issues?
I think for many parents it was major,
okay,
right?
Yeah.
Because suddenly your children are at home. You may need to go to work. What do you do with them? Do you see what I mean? It was tough, really, really tough. And we felt the pain of parents a lot, you know. So when it came to parents trying to figure out what to do with the children, and a lot of our parents who are not very conversant with the online environment, it's a very fearful thing. We're scared that kids will go to pornographic sites, kids will do all sorts of weird things online. And now you're saying, here's a laptop, use it all day, stare at it all day. This is like a dream come true for any child. But you know, the interesting thing is, while there was so much excitement at the beginning, it really died down for the kids. Suddenly, the device became a tool, you know, for work. And suddenly, all the other crazy things sort of dropped a bit. I won't say they dropped off completely. Managing children online was difficult. Keeping them engaged was really difficult. Because of bandwidth, most children, if not all of them, the teachers will say, could you turn your camera off? Well, come on. As soon as you turn your camera off, you could do anything. You could go back to bed, you know. So it was difficult for teachers to figure out, how am I getting through to kids? And when you're teaching, you're looking for body language. I'm talking to you and you're nodding. That's because you're listening to me. So I draw a cue from that and I continue the conversation, you know. So we look at your reactions and all of that. Teachers are moving around the room, trying to engage, modulating your voice up and down. There are all sorts of strategies. Well, when you're sitting behind a laptop and teaching people you can't see, all of that drops. So for us, the major problem was engagement. Okay. How do you keep kids engaged? And how do you know they're actually listening to you?
How do you even find out if it's being effective? I mean, there's no face to see if the person is actually getting anything.
But you can do tests. We had online assessments, but then again, you wonder who's doing the assessment. Is it
probably
the child?
her big brother or somebody?
It was tough, but it was a good learning experience. It allowed us to try to project all the things that we've ever imagined, because we had a technology roadmap. And in that technology roadmap, we were going to have blended learning. But it all seemed pie in the sky. Until it actually happened. You're like, whoops, okay. Now you have no choice. You have to get into it, you know. So it was tough.
All right. Now, looking at a typical day in your life, take us through like a typical day as a principal
Typical day as a principal.
Like how you start your day through to the end.
So as I was joking, actually I wasn't joking, I was telling the truth. I'm usually asleep by now. All right?
Oh, okay.
So all my family and friends know you can't get me after 8 o'clock. All right. If you get me after 8 o'clock, then it's by some fluke, right? So I try to sleep early. I'm a morning person. So I will be up latest by 5, usually by 4 I'm up. I'm doing a couple of meditative things, sometimes just lying in bed, just letting my thoughts flow. My family doesn't live here in Ghana with me. My children are all studying outside. My youngest is 20 years old. Wow. And so I've got 2 who've graduated already.
I have a question after this.
Okay. So by the time I wake up, they've written, they've said lots of things. I'm responding to my husband as well. So I do a couple of those things in the morning. I used to walk. I used to walk. I have no idea, and it's horrible. I blame the pandemic. So I'm going to channel.
That's what we're all doing, though.
I know. I'm going to channel my inner grace warrior. And now that I have said this on TV, I'm going to start walking and try and get back into that mode of just feeling healthy again. Yeah. I'm usually in school by 7:30 at the latest, and my meetings start almost immediately. I have meetings with managers. So we have 1,400 students in the school.
Wow.
And the 1,400 students are managed in 4 sections. So we've got the infant school, the junior school, the lower secondary, and the upper secondary. Yeah. So all of them are headed by a vice principal. So they do the supervision of instruction, right? Teaching and learning happens there. So I'm not directly involved in that. I will walk around and see what's going on. We've got a standards and accreditation team. I meet with them to find out what's happening so far with standards. Do we have to have an evaluation done, an internal evaluation, all of that. And then we've got a vice principal for administration who handles the plant, so to speak. So the operations, finance, HR, and so on. So I meet with those managers as well. Every so often I have a meeting off campus. Usually around 2 o'clock, I've run out of steam because I've been up really early. Yeah. So I just lock my door and I lie on my couch flat. And again, just let thoughts just calm me down again. And by about 3:34, I'm up again, ready to actually bang away. You know, I'm writing a lot of papers, a lot of policies, lots of documentation for the board, and envisioning. That is a large part of my role as school head, is where's GIS going to be in 5 years, in 10 years? When my grandchildren are ready to come to school, what will GIS look like? What does the campus of the future look like? You know, so all that visioning and talking to other heads of schools, attending meetings online and so on, it can be crazy.
Wow.
It can be crazy.
You mentioned your last child is 20 years.
Yes.
You do not look a day over 35.
That is wonderful.
You look so young. What do you do outside? I mean, we just had a brief of what you do on a day of work from beginning to end, basically. But outside that, what do you do? What's the secret? You've even stopped walking. So what are you doing?
Well, my husband would say this is crazy, but I love exploring. You know, I can plan a whole weekend away. Whoa. And last weekend, I went away with 3 girlfriends to Ada. We rented a cottage and we just danced to Bob Marley all weekend.
We're about to dance though.
Oh, but I don't dance on TV.
Oh, today we are going to break the chain. We are dancing because today we are starting a lot of new things, you know. We're going to start walking. Yes. We're going to start dancing as well.
We're going to try to dance. I'm not a dancer.
I love the try side.
But yes, the exploring bit is really important to me. Discovering new things is important to me. And I think being around children, I had mentioned it before, I think that keeps you young. Your attitude is positive, it's forward-looking, and whatever you feel on the inside, it shows on the outside. I can feel it. It shows on the outside, yeah. But no special tricks or anything. I still bath with soap and water, you know, no special thing. When a Z appears on my face, I let it sit there for a bit and just will it away. It will go away eventually. I don't stress. I don't stress.
Now, I'm about to blow your mind. I hope I do.
Okay.
Before we get to all the dancing.
Oh my gosh.
I've got a surprise for you.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I am.
All right. Let's have a look at this.
Surprise! I'm sure you're so surprised, Mary. Thank you, Metro TV, for giving me the opportunity to come and celebrate my sister today. I'm Grace, and I'm Mary's youngest sister living in Canada. And I'm so honored to be able to tell you a little bit about my sister today. Not only is she awesome, but she's actually a great big sister as well. She wrote this book, Grace, the Pandemic Warrior. It has inspired myself, my children, and so many other people across the globe. And I'm just so incredibly proud of her and of her willingness to share her talent and to share her creativity with the whole world. So if you haven't bought this book yet, Grace, the Pandemic Warrior, go buy it and enjoy it and let it inspire you as it has inspired me as well. Mary, I'm so proud of you. Love you lots. Bye.
Oh,
that was
so
so sweet. That was really sweet. I'm the first one. She's the last one.
Oh,
yeah.
And the love and energy, you guys. I want to be part of the family.
Oh, please do.
Anyway, before we get to my next surprise, I'm sure like, what else? Well, I have
know.
another surprise for you.
Okay.
Where can we get some of the books to read?
So these are currently available if you're outside the country. It's on all the Amazon sites.
Okay.
So .com, .ca, .it, .co.uk, .australia, whatever the Australia tag thing is. It's all over. So you just need to go to Amazon.
Okay.
Here in Ghana, Video Bookstores is carrying it, Kingdom Bookstores, Starbites, awesome place to eat. Starbites at Legon and Airport Nesta Square. They also have some copies there. Actually, this Father's Day coming up, one of my favorite GIS fathers is going to be reading it to kids.
Oh, when?
Yes, Father's Day, I think. I'm not sure, but
Okay.
Starbites will be advertising it.
Great.
And that would be a fantastic opportunity. I love seeing parents read to their kids, and especially dads
Okay.
reading to their
Now
kids.
we are going to have a look at my second surprise.
Oh,
Can you guess
dear.
what it is?
No.
All right, let's have a look.
No, but I love surprises, so.
Oh, well, I'm excited now.
Yeah.
This is Sister Boate, Mary's sister in Texas. Hey Mary, surprise, surprise. I just wanted to say a big congratulations on Grace the Pandemic Warrior. I am so delighted with this book. I mean, you've written many books already, so I already knew you were a great writer. But the reason I'm so delighted with this book is because it's so perfect for the times in which we live. And I think this book is going to bring so much encouragement and so much strength to children all over the world, especially the children who are dealing with family members having COVID, you know. So I'm just so excited about this book. Congratulations.
Wow, you guys, man. What next? Are you going to get my dog?
Oh, you have a dog.
I do. He's called Caesar because I like Julius Caesar. I love all the history, so he's called Caesar.
But I wonder what a video of him will be.
Oh,
Will
he's
he be
crazy.
dancing and wiggling his
Yeah,
tail?
he's crazy. He's crazy. But thank you so much. That was awesome to hear from my sister. So Esther's number 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So on that note, tell us a little bit about your family.
Oh, so mom and dad are both alive and well. They live in Pokwase. Dad is a retired UN diplomat and a pastor as well. And mom is a jack of all trades, you know, name it. What hasn't my mom done? You know, she gets business ideas at the drop of a hat. We're always laughing at her. We call her entire being a non-profit business because she's never made any profit, but she has run lots of businesses. So I think we get a lot of our creativity, you know, from her and just her willingness to try new things all the time. And then we're 5 children. Like I said, I'm number 1. I've got a brother after me, and then a sister, a brother, and then a sister. So 5 of us.
That's great.
And I'm married to Joseph. I've got 3 sons, Abeyku, Kwamena, and Jojo. So Abeyku is 29, Kwamena is 23, and Jojo's 20.
Oh, there was a book you mentioned, Kwamena.
Stubborn Kwame.
Stubborn Kwamena. Was
Yes,
that him?
That
Stubborn
was
Kwame.
him.
That
Yes,
was him.
that
I'm
was
glad I
him.
remembered.
Oh, he was so annoying when he was 2 years old. And I thought, how am I going to get through to this child? I'm going to write a story for him. So I did. And when I read it to him at the end of it, he looked at me, he goes, Mommy, that Kwame, he's really bad. I said, yeah, he is.
How come you have surpassed him?
Exactly. He couldn't even see that it was about him. So, and Kobe Bedu Smith, I wrote for Abeyku. as well, because he was growing up in a predominantly Caucasian neighborhood and school. And I was really eager for my children to see role models that they could aspire to. Much like what Grace, your previous speaker, your previous guest was saying, the importance of her presence, you know, for girls to see, I could be that too, right? For my son, I wanted him to see that he could be amazing as well. So Kobe is a boy who has science adventures. He goes to the moon, you know, he discovers the cure for diabetes. He does amazing things, and he's black. And that was important for me to let my son know that he could be somebody as well. So that's where the stories come from.
Wow.
Yeah.
Then they will all be very relatable and very interesting. Even from how you talk, your energy and everything, I'm sure we can feel the spirit in there. And looking at the fact that you've had experience abroad, I mean, different cultures and all of that, would you say it's influenced or made it easier, whatnot, how you are managing the GIS school?
I think it has. I think it has. Exposure is so important. It really is. And the ability to be able to think laterally about things. You may have a problem and you've always known that there's just one way to solve it. That's what you've always thought. But growing up, studying and working with people who are not like you, right, opens your mind up, because you learn from them and how they do things. It might not be exactly what you end up doing, but that alone informs your thought process. So I think it has a lot to do with how I work.
Okay, now comparing once again your experience abroad in Ghana, what are some of the gaps that you think we should fill as GES, Ghana Educational Service?
I think, I love the fact that our teachers are really competent and our teachers don't joke at all with school. I think when we came back down to Ghana, I came with my two youngest sons, and I remember Jojo, the youngest one, saying, they don't watch movies in class here. Well, our teachers don't joke. Like, you came to school not to watch a movie. You came to school to study, you know. So I love the focus. I think what I'd love to see more is relatable teachers. Teachers who are approachable. For so long, we've equated respect with sternness, right? And we think that to be respected, you've got to be mean or so firm that people can't come to you, you know. And sometimes people tell me this, they can't believe I'm the way I am, because as a principal, I must be very serious. And I'm so not a serious person. I take pride in being not so serious. You know, there's a time for everything. When I'm suspending a kid, I'm serious. When I'm firing a teacher, I'm serious, you know. But when it comes to children, they must have a safe space to be themselves. And I think that our teachers, you know, throughout this country and throughout this continent, we need to tone it down a little bit. And we need to also see children as individuals. Education systems, by their very nature, they just have to be a one-size-fits-all. We can't afford to teach you the way that you learn, and you and you and you. Do you see what I mean? That is crazy. It's impossible. So we do have a sort of an assembly line kind of a system where it's the same thing for everyone. And I think what the West has done a little bit more of, or maybe they're a bit ahead of us, is in recognizing that uniqueness of individuals and trying, even if a teacher has a particular teaching style, try to embed other teaching styles in it so that you can somehow match a child's learning style. So that's where I think that it would be lovely for us to move to, so that children can feel better supported.
That would be great. I personally have that experience, you know, because from school, a teacher would teach something and then half of the class is okay and the other half's like, and then now the half that understands is burdened to kind of explain in other ways to the others when the class is over. So they are always lacking behind. That's why throughout school you see one kid excelling throughout and then the other kid probably not. Now, looking at the curriculum, I feel like more importance is in place on more practical subjects. For instance, when you come into our educational system and you talk of something like physical education, I'm not sure how it is in GIS, but generally, from my experience, it looks as if it's seen as a time to be unserious, an opportunity to take off your uniform
What
and
education?
walk around.
Which one?
Physical education.
Physical, yes.
And so, from that aspect, what do you think we should do to make him better? Yeah.
I think we need to really recognize the importance of teachers in our lives. You know, it starts from that, because I think if you've got a teacher who feels empowered and is proud of what they do, it's impossible to ignore the importance of the subject. Whenever I get to the airport and you know the card they give you and it's got profession, I always put teacher. I'm so proud to be a teacher. You know, and so we need to get that embedded back into the system, where a PE teacher is as lauded as a physics teacher, where a math teacher is as lauded as an early childhood teacher. But sometimes we've got these warped ideas that someone who teaches 5-year-olds can't be that bright. Meanwhile, if you had to have 25-year-olds in a class, you would see that you would need some intelligence, all right, a lot of it, to be able to handle them. You know, so some respect needs to come back into the system, and sometimes the respect starts with us as teachers. You know, do we know who we are? Do we know the impact that we have on future generations? You know, that one day you may have a future president in your class, right? You might have a future entrepreneur in your class. You might have a future host of a show displaying her ability to engage. And those are all important skills. And they don't need to be rated one above the other. And I think when we start seeing that and we see our role in impacting them, right, then the respect will come back for these subject areas. If we're able to let children know that when you are not physically healthy, you cannot study. You know, if you don't eat properly, you don't exercise, you're going to be dumb. You know, so once you put that there, and especially to tell parents, and parents too are reacting to whatever the industry is bearing down on them, you know, what they're being told. Oh, if your child is a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer, they'll get a job. That's true. But if your child is a host of a show, she can also get a job. There's so many opportunities out there. So there's a bit of fear in the system. If they don't do the cookie cutter stuff, then that means I haven't done well. And we want to be able to stand up at parties and say, oh yes, Kwamena is at Harvard. Oh yes, Abeyku is at Oxford, you know, and we don't want to say when they're at a technical college, or we think it's not good enough. And that's not true. You know, we need to let children know that whatever your path is, right, is meant to make you who you're meant to be, so that you can be a functioning member of society. And that is critical. What's the point of having a doctor who hates being a doctor? And there
People are going to die.
there are many. You know, there are many people who don't like their jobs. You know, so I'd much rather a child knows what they want to do and a parent is supportive.
That was dope. Yes, and it's not every day you get a powerful woman like yourself singing for you. So I know everybody's jealous of me right now, but it's only on the real show.
So glad that the music totally overshadowed my voice, because it sucks. Honestly, that is not my gift.
But it was priceless to get the reaction. I mean, you were singing word to some of the songs, and only on the real show.
Yeah.
And I hope all the students are sleeping too.
I do hope so. Otherwise, tomorrow I know they're going to be talking about it. Yo, did you see
and then
Dr.
you
Ashun?
move your window and listen.
Yes.
Now, looking at the fact that you are a mother, you have a family, how do you juggle work and family?
Luckily, right now they're all grown, so there's not as much. If anything, it's just keeping in touch and keeping on top of everything that's happening in their lives and being a support to them. But it was rough when they were little, and they're 3 boys. You know, there were times when I didn't feel like my head was on my on my shoulders, you know. And my husband was a consultant and traveling around quite a bit as well for a brief moment of their childhood. But it was just sheer grace, you know, sheer grace, the ability to also put your life in phases or cycles, so to speak, and to realize it's not going to last forever. You know, they're little for a certain short time period, you know, and then they become older and you've got different sets of problems to deal with, you know. So to take it in stride, and very quickly they'll be old, you know. Right now, even though they would love to jump into my bed now, their bodies are so big, their heads are big, their arms are all over the place. But when they were little, it would be nice to have all 3 boys, especially when dad comes back from a trip. They all just jump into bed, you know, with us, and that was lovely. Just taking that all in stride and realizing this too shall pass, and having a supportive spouse. My husband was amazing, you know, and we raised the kids together. It was not just mom doing it, and my parents as well, and siblings. So support has been great.
All right, so support and just the times changing and you getting along with it.
And realizing it. Yeah.
Well, I have a gift for you.
Oh, wow.
And I'll quickly get that.
Okay.
So I think that's my first surprise. Thank you
Thank you very, very much. This is
amazing
wonderful.
Yeah, this is from JN Products. They have a wide range of products, so they put something together.
Okay.
We are very, very happy that you joined us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll have to come back again and get more gifts.
Yes,
right?
and you are so welcome.
Thank you so much.
Metro TV, insightful and inspiring moments.